In today's video, I'm going to show you how we went from this to this. I am going to show you every aspect of the cabinet installation process, from planning and layout to setting your ledger board and hanging your upper cabinets, and I'll show you my trick for never missing a stud. I'm also going to show you how to fasten the face frames together and how to find the high point in the room, which is very important for your lower cabinets. I'll show you how to set those, how to shim those, and I also got some tips on cutting the penetrations for your sink cabinet. From filler strips to cabinet hardware, this video is going to cover everything, and my hope is that it's the only video you're going to need to watch on installing cabinets. And you can obviously trust me because I'm a professional. So if that sounds good, let's get into the video. This project starts with an empty kitchen, or as I like to call it, a blank canvas for some cabinets. One of the first things we want to do is find all of the wall studs, because we're obviously going to be attaching the cabinets to the wall studs, not just the drywall. You can use this type of stud finder or the old school magnet version, which just attaches to the drywall screws. Magnets! Oh! But it doesn't matter how you find the studs. All that matters is that you do find them and you mark them on your wall. And once all the studs are marked, it's time to hang the cabinets. But first, let's talk about selecting the cabinets and layout. With any cabinet project, you're going to start the planning phase by getting the dimensions of the room. I like to use SketchUp for this, but a pen and some graph paper will work just fine. From those rough dimensions, your cabinet supplier will usually put together a 3D model of what the kitchen might look like and also put together a layout. I went with a company called ProCraft Cabinetry for my very first kitchen remodel from way back before I even had a YouTube channel, since they're using plywood construction, dovetail drawers, soft close hardware, and they offer a 5-year warranty. And they also have a bunch of door and finish options, but I was torn between these two colors. And both of these colors looked pretty solid in the 3D model, but I ended up going with the oatmeal. Let me know down in the comments if you think I made a mistake. Now, when you hang wall cabinets, you either want to start in the corner or at the end. But I prefer to start in the corner, which is what we're going to do here. Now, the standard mounting height for wall cabinets is 54 inches from the floor. Since most wall cabinets are 30 inches tall, that means the top of our cabinets is going to be at around 84 inches. And I'm using the old laser level on a bar clamp attached to a ladder trick to project that 84-inch level line across my room, but you can also use a 6-foot level. Basically, you just need a level line indicating the top of the cabinets. And it's usually a good idea to mark that laser line with a pencil or a chalk line for a little redundancy. Now, with our reference line established for the top of the cabinets, you're now going to establish the bottom line for the cabinets where you're going to install your ledger board. The cabinets in this location are 30 inches tall, so I'm going 30 inches down from our top reference line. Next, we're going to install a 2x4 ledger board into the studs, which we're going to rest our cabinets on during the install. Although you can install wall cabinets by yourself, having an extra set of hands is very helpful. And starting in the corner, you're going to lift that cabinet into place, rest it on the ledger board, and then check for level and plumb. And if you installed your ledger board completely level, you really should only have to adjust plumb by putting shims in at the back of the cabinet. When it comes to securing the cabinets to the walls, you want to use a minimum of 4 screws going into as many studs as possible. And my trick for actually locating the studs in the cabinet is just to identify the stud location like we marked, and then set up your laser level so that you have that laser being projected into the cabinet, and then you just put your screw right in line with that laser line. Hopefully that helps you all out. And you might find yourself in a position where you need one of these right angle drill attachments like I did behind that door. And with the corner cabinet set, it's rinse and repeat for the rest of the cabinets in the layout. Lift the next cabinet into position, place it on the ledger board, and now that you have 2 cabinets, I like to secure them together with a bar clamp, because you obviously want the top of the cabinets and the bottom, if they're the same size, to be perfectly flush. And for this cabinet right here, we had to place a shim in the bottom right corner to get it perfectly plumb. And once we were happy with everything, we secured it to the studs just like before. But now that we have 2 adjacent cabinets installed, we need to secure the face frames together. To do that, clamp them, making sure that they're perfectly flush. Then you want to pre-drill through the face frame and into the other face frame using a drill bit slightly smaller than the screws you're using to secure them. Next, I recommend using a countersink bit to hollow out the area around the pre-drill so that when you sink your actual screw head, it'll be perfectly flush with the cabinet and not stick out. I like to use the GRK fasteners with the white heads for the face frames because it helps to camouflage the screw. And they make special tools for the face frame, but in my opinion, the bar clamps work just fine. All right, so our electric range is gonna go right here. That's gonna be 30 inches wide, and then we're gonna have a range hood up here. But we're not just gonna measure 30 inches over, because we have a 1/4 inch face frame right here, and then we're gonna have another 1/4 inch face frame on the other side. So we're gonna probably go over 30 and 5/8 inch just to make sure that we have enough space for the range hood to slide in, because the last thing you want is for it to be too tight. That's gonna be a disaster, a lot of tears. So let's go over 30 5/8, and then we'll go ahead and mark that and get this next cabinet in. And I recommend that you grab a 16-foot ledger board so you don't need to relocate it, because we had an 8-foot board and we had to relocate it, I think, twice. And if you're wondering why we did the top cabinets first, it's because if you put the base cabinets in first, they're gonna be in the way. You're gonna have to step around them. So in my opinion, install the upper cabinets first. It's just a little bit easier. Now for this smaller cabinet over the sink, we first tried to install it without a ledger board by just holding it into place and securing it with some bar clamps on the opposite side, but that was a little bit too tough, so we ended up putting in a little temporary ledger, and then we checked for plumb, checked for level, just like before, having to kick out the bottom with a shim since that wall was starting to bow inwards a little bit. And if you're wondering why this cabinet does not have a face, it's because this is actually going to be a glass front cabinet, and they ship them separately to prevent it breaking. So we're gonna install that glass face in a second. Now for some cabinets, you might not have the opportunity to install a shim after you lift the cabinet into place, which is exactly what I encountered with this cabinet. So what you wanna do is take a shim, put some tape on it, and then use a level to see how much of a shim you're gonna need to get the cabinet perfectly flush with the adjacent cabinet. Then just position the back of the cabinet on that shim, make sure that everything looks good, and then use that laser level trick to make sure that you secure the cabinet to the studs. Now I want to talk a little bit more about this cabinet because there's two important things. First, I'm installing this cabinet adjacent to a blind corner, so I chose to cover that up with a 1/4-inch piece of plywood, mostly because I'm installing a filler strip on this next cabinet. And a filler strip can be used to fill dead space between cabinets or to prevent your cabinets from slamming into a wall. To attach filler strips to cabinets, I first like to pre-drill 2 or 3 locations in the filler strip, just like we did when attaching the face frames together. I also like to countersink all of those pre-drilled holes. That way, your screws will sit flush. Take my filler strip, position it in place, make sure that it's perfectly flush with the face frame, and when you're happy with how everything is lining up, continue the pre-drill into the cabinet before screwing the filler strip into the face frame of the cabinet. And that is filler strips. All right, now that we have the wall cabinets in, let's install the base cabinets. The first thing you want to do when setting your base cabinets is you want to determine the high point in the room. To do that, you're going to set a laser level. It could be at any height, 2 feet off the ground, 5 feet off the ground, it doesn't matter. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take a bunch of measurements from the floor to that laser line. So we got 36 1/4 right here. We'll just write it on the wall. This is 36. And you just want to get measurements all around the room. So right here, we have 36 1/4 inches from the floor to that line. And then we start sloping down. So here it's only 36 inches, and then it just gets lower and lower. All the way over here, we're at 35 3/16. Now the question is the high point the largest number, or is it the smallest number? Well, it's actually the smallest number, and you can pause the video if you need to figure out why. Now that I know that my high point is going to be over here, all you have to do is go to the high point and measure up 34 1/2 inches, which is the standard height of a cabinet. Since the high point was right at this cabinet, I positioned it in place. Okay, now after getting surgical with it, there is our level line where we're gonna match for all of our base cabinets. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that with a chalk line or a pencil so I don't have to deal with it, but that's how you find the high point and mark the flat level line for all your base cabinets. And just like for the upper cabinets, we're gonna start in the corner, but not so fast there, Skippy. When you're setting the base cabinet in the corner to match the high point, you're not gonna be able to place a shim once you place the cabinet. So what I like to do is put the cabinet in place and then determine how much I'm gonna have to shim it before moving the cabinet out and placing a shim so that I can then lift it and place the cabinet on top. And when placing that shim in the back corner, I like to tape it down so the cabinet doesn't move it out of place. And with the back corner of the cabinet at the right height, you just need to shim the front and the sides to make sure it's perfectly plumb and level. Okay, so I think I'm finally happy with this base cabinet in the corner. I had to shim there, had to shim there, had to really shim in the back there, had to shim against the wall. And now we're almost ready to secure it, but there's one last thing we have to check. Now, before I set this corner cabinet, what I did is I placed the next base cabinet because I want to make sure that it's going to be perfectly in line with the cabinet above. It's usually a good idea for these crucial dimensions, you know, like for the stove and for the sink, to make sure that your wall cabinets and your base cabinets are lining up before you install them. So I'm just using a 6-foot level to make sure that the top cabinet and the bottom cabinet are perfectly plumb and in line, and making any minor adjustments as needed. I know it seems like a lot, but this is the hardest cabinet to set. And that laser level trick for finding a stud also works for the base cabinets. Now for this next base cabinet, I'm going to have a drawer microwave, so I need to cut the penetration for that outlet in the bottom right corner. I used a Sawzall for this, but it definitely wasn't the cleanest. And this base cabinet got a filler strip just like the cabinet above, and it's installed the exact same way. And for this next cabinet, we installed the shim in the back corner beforehand, and because the wall is sloping downward and getting lower, the shims are gonna get more and more plentiful, and the cabinet's gonna get higher and higher as we go down this line. Basically, the flatter your floors and the more plumb your walls are, the easier it's gonna be to install the cabinets. And just like with the upper cabinets, you're gonna install the face frames of the base cabinets together the exact same way. Just make sure that the top of the cabinets is perfectly flush when you secure them together. So the range is gonna be installed between these two cabinets, so I gotta space them 30 inches, but first I'm gonna get this cabinet at the right height. At this point, we're talking about 3/4 of an inch of shims to get it to that line. And after making sure that everything is plumb and level on that cabinet, I like to run a 6-foot level between the two cabinets to make sure that we're looking good and level between them. Double check that the face frames are a minimum of 30 inches apart, and keep in mind that extra 1/4 inch on the face frame. And I forgot to show it, but make sure that your top and bottom cabinets are perfectly plumb before you secure the cabinet to the wall. The next base cabinet is for the sink, and we're gonna need to clean this up if we wanna give ourselves a shot of pushing the cabinet up against the wall. After a little cleanup and a few sharp bites, we have 2 stubs, which are gonna be much more manageable.
Making the cuts for these is really not that hard. I'm gonna show you the easiest way to do it. First, we have our reference line that we created from earlier. Basically, this is the top of our cabinet. Next, we gotta figure out how wide our base cabinet is. In our case, it's 32.5. So then we're gonna mark the midpoint right at 16.25. Next, we're gonna draw a reference line going up and down the middle of the cabinet based on our midpoint. So we'll go ahead and get it level. That looks pretty good. And then we'll mark it. Okay, that's our midpoint. Then you wanna go over to your reference line, and then you wanna mark the midpoint of where that sink is gonna land up. I already have it marked here, but just use a level and mark it. And now we have the midpoint here and on our cabinet.
And then you're just gonna measure from the center line of the pipe to your top reference point, and then you wanna measure from your center line reference point to the center of the pipe.
And now if we head into the inside of the cabinet, we're gonna measure down 21.5, and then we're gonna measure over the 2 inches. So basically, that's where our hole needs to be. And now we just need to drill our hole. It's a good rule of thumb to drill halfway on one side and then finish the cut on the other. That's gonna prevent too much tear out, although that's not great.
And then I repeated that same process with a larger hole saw bit for the drain pipe. And I also needed a small hole for the garbage disposal electrical supply. With the holes cut and the shims in place to get us to the right level, it's time to position this guy in place. And as I was pushing the cabinet against the wall, I completely forgot that a square is my favorite shape. So I pulled it out and I cut a square instead of a circle just because I like squares so much better. It had nothing to do with it not fitting. And after shimming and checking level, I secured that sink cabinet to the wall. And you might have already guessed why I have a gap between these two cabinets.
So this is where the dishwasher is gonna go, so I gotta make sure that I have 24 inches between these cabinets.
And I sound like a broken record, but that's 24 inches from the face frame. Do not come crying to me if your appliances don't fit. I warn you. And again, we're checking level, checking plumb, and securing the cabinet to the wall. And let's just take a second to look at this monstrosity. And if you missed any face frames, go back now and secure them. I like to do 2 of these per cabinet. And because my kitchen is gonna have a built-in fridge panel around the fridge, I used some 1/4 inch plywood to make the sides of the cabinet flush with the 1/4 inch overhang for the face frame. Now everything should be perfectly even. Next, I ripped down the ProCraft fridge panel to the right height, and then disaster struck. And that was 100% on me for removing that door and not fully securing it back in place. That could have been bad. And after checking for level and plumb, I secured that fridge panel to the cabinets using some brad nails. For the cabinet that goes above the fridge, I attached it to the back of the wall, and then I secured through the face frame into the fridge panel. But because of the beams in my kitchen, I had to install the cabinets slightly lower than standard, which left me with about a 2 inch delta between the pantry cabinet and the adjacent cabinet above the fridge. So to overcome that, I trimmed off the toe kick by about 2 inches all the way around the pantry cabinet, and that got me to the right height. After shimming, I secured it to the adjacent cabinet, and then I shimmed it in the back to secure it to that bead. And for this coffee bar, we repurposed a 12-inch deep upper cabinet as a base cabinet, so we have to add our own toe kick. After comparing the height of this cabinet to my base cabinets on the other side of the room, it was just about a 5.5-inch difference, so I was able to use a standard 2x6 piece of lumber and construct my toe kick that way. I added a couple pieces of bracing, and then I just screwed the toe kick to the bottom of the cabinet. And after positioning that sucker in place, it was more of the same, shimming it, making sure it was level, and then securing it to the studs in the back. You guys know the drill by now. And after installing these glass doors, it's time to install the hardware. The last thing in the world you want to do is spend thousands of dollars on cabinets and then screw up the hardware installation. So I got one of these cabinet jigs. I'm going to put this on right here, and this is going to take all the stress out of actually installing the hardware. All you're going to do is get the midway point both from left to right and top to bottom. Make the adjustments on the jig, which I've already done. Place it on here. Make sure that your holes are going to be right in the middle for your cabinet hardware, so we look pretty good right there. Then you're going to take this tool, which comes with the jig, push it in. Now we got both of our holes marked. That should work out right there. And now we just got to drill them. And it's usually a good idea to put a piece of blocking like a 2x4 behind your drill marks so that you don't blow out the back of the cabinet. Then you're just going to put your screws on the opposite side and tighten everything up, and if you use a drill, it goes a lot faster than a screwdriver to actually tighten the handles in place. I think that jig was around $10 on Amazon. It was worth every penny. I'll link it down below, and it's especially helpful for pull handles, but knobs you could probably get away with just measuring with the tape measure, but I feel like it takes the stress out. It's worth the 10 bucks. And since the offsets are going to be the same for nearly all your cabinets, you just have to set it up once or twice. Now we're getting down to the home stretch here. It's time for the toe kicks, and these are just going to match the cabinets, and they're going to be installed to cover up any seams or gaps in between the cabinets. I attach them with a couple brad nails. Nothing crazy about this, just cut it to size and nail it in place. Toe kicks are typically going to be provided as well as these side panels, which are going to be installed over top of the sides of the cabinet to match the color of the front doors. Install as many of these side panels as needed for your kitchen. I had to cut this one in half here to go between the taller wall cabinets and the shorter wall cabinet above the sink. And I'm just using a 5/8 inch brad nail for this, but I think a 3/4 inch would also work. And the last step here is to install these ProCraft floating shelves, which I think are going to look great with that coffee bar. Now let's take a quick reminder look at where this project started, and here is a look at the final result. Now, obviously, everything is going to look so much better once the countertops and the appliances go in, but I didn't want to hold this video for that, since there's plenty of time to talk about counters and appliances in future videos. Now, the question on everyone's mind, cost. Everything that you saw here in this video, from the cabinets to the toe kicks to the wall panels to the floating shelves to the fridge panel, all of that came out to just over $4,000 for these ProCraft cabinets. And that included assembly, delivery, everything. So let me know what you think of the cabinets, of the hardware, but if you think I should have gone with those green cabinets, maybe keep that to yourself, since I've already put in these oatmeal ones. In the next few videos, we're gonna be installing crown molding up top, we're gonna be installing the appliances and the countertops, a lot of good stuff, so be sure to subscribe if you like DIY content. If you need some kitchen cabinets, check out ProCraft. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.